Okay, now I'm hoping that people can hear me because I've added a mic. I already had a mic, I just didn't have it where I do my streaming. So hopefully we're good to go here. Added a few other things. I'm just gonna start off with some just fun doodling, warm-up sketch, whatever you want to call it. Um, Not expecting a huge crowd or lots of people following or anything like that. This is more just to keep me warmed up and in tune and, that kind of stuff. So here we go. Um, One of the things I thought I might do, one of my friends uh, has a character named Gun Ghoul who is quite cool. I really enjoy the character. I can't say I really can draw the style that Gun Ghoul's in, but the character itself is pretty cool. And so I thought, well, hey, why not have a little fun, do my own version of him today just to kind of warm up and, you know, um, we'll we'll take it from there. I got some concept work I'm going to do um, today just because um, I finally finished the story that I'd been working on, and um, actually, I shouldn't say finally because it's a story that I'd been looking at doing for some time now. Um, but it was a matter of working out all the kinks, what it is that I wanted to be able to do. Sorry about that. And so, I finally worked out the kinks, sat down and wrote at least the rough draft. My wife's gonna read it and let me know what her thoughts, but some people are like, oh, well, did you leave Kingdom Comics, which some of you may not even know that I did, but did you leave to go do your own stuff? And to be honest with you, no. I mean, I actually I didn't have any plans of things I wanted to do or places to go. A lot of it honestly came down to the fact that, my wife had been in and out of um, the hospital recently, and life has just kind of gotten complicated. I mean, there were other stuff too, but I mean, the biggest reason for me uh, was that. And so, now that I'm not as tied to running around to cons and things like that, I can finally do some of the things that I enjoy doing, and we'll go from there, see what happens. Um, I had, like I said, I had a really cool idea that I thought would do really well in the industry, and we are going to, you know, play with it and see what happens, and you know, um, that's where I'm at. So, uh, for those who don't know who Gun Ghoul is, he's basically like a more modern version of Ghost Rider, in at least his look. I don't want to say the character is that way. That's probably not fair. Um, but he just has a really cool look about him. And but if you want to check him out, you can pick up the books on Amazon. You can look up Gun Ghoul, Gun space Ghoul. Or you can look up the creator, which is Will Callaghan. I hope I said his name right, but I've known Will in the industry anyway for several years now, And so I'll kind of see if I can't give you guys a shot of this real quick. Yeah, there you go. There's a nice shot of Gun just using that for a reference there. Yeah, there you go, nice and close. So, but that's who I'm going to be sketching this morning, just for some fun, and so I hope you guys enjoy it. If you want to chat, I do have my chat up and running, so I'm going to be looking for any posts across the board. And of course, especially now that my mic's going, you guys can probably hear the police scanner going off in the background. I am at my place of work, which is a newspaper, so that's kind of a, you know, it's always going kind of thing, you know, so we can keep up to date on what's going on. So, all right, back to work. This is a drawing channel. Let's actually do some drawing. And I think just because I've already sketched this, I don't like when I start doing some finals, having things be dark, the sketching side be dark. So I'm gonna add another layer, take that down a few notches so that when I start going in deep, it'll look all right. And I think I'm gonna up my pencil too here. I think I want to ride a little higher today. So the one thing I've noticed though, the biggest downside to me streaming on the weekends like I do, you know, that's my easiest time to be able to do it because I got so many responsibilities during the week that you know, I don't seem to pull as many people in, because a lot of times I can pull people in if I do it during the week, but it's just not realistic for me. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm not really doing this to get some huge following anyway. This is more just to force me to sit down and actually get something completed. You know, but it's still nice to be able to connect with people and talk to people, and so anyway. And here in a bit, after I do this warm up, my plan is to do some sketch work on, start the sketching process for the story I'm working on. So hopefully you guys will get to stick around and see some of that. have to say one of my favorite characters of all time, even in comics, was Ghost Rider. And I mean, he probably shouldn't be one of my favorites, but he is. Um, you know, I mean, just making the deal with the devil and all that stuff. But I think the reason why I've always liked him was uh, the struggle against evil, and wanting to do the right thing, but not being able to do the right thing. And so it's I don't know, not a huge fan of the pointy head thing there, but it's a sketch, and I'm just doing it for flair, and so. I think what I'll do is I'll just color this all in black here, and then go back and do something for the eyes. Um, he has kind of glowy eyes, which, unless you do it in the coloring stage, you're not going to really be able to do it here. And since I'm not planning to color this, at least not right now, I've got to find another way to kind of make that happen. So mean, you gotta admit, just looking at this guy, just the way he is, he looks like he's gonna be a pretty mean mother. And I think that maybe that's why I just really enjoyed the character that he came up with. I don't like those. Maybe I'll just do it on the one side there. This is why I draw digitally, because I change my mind a lot. So when you change your mind a lot, you want to be able to quickly move another direction and erase. The only problem is then when I go to draw for real and I want to hit delete or go back, undo, I can't. So so he always has his face half hidden, his eyes half hidden, and so that's kind of what we're doing here. And let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to adjust one of my windows and it just does not like me today. Grr. Anyway. Sorry guys, I really am trying here. There we go, finally. Stupid thing. Hate you. Yes, because yelling at technology always works. And anywho. Hear me clicking around. Just look at the pretty picture for now, guys. As of right now, it doesn't look like I got anybody on anyway, so you guys aren't missing nothing. Oh. So I wanted to be able to open my chat window, and that way I could chat with all the different areas, kind of see if it works. I'm not so sure that it's posting to Facebook. Looks like it's doing it to YouTube and Twitch, but if nothing else, at least I'll be able to respond if someone clicks on there. Hello to whomever is watching me on Twitch. You know, though sometimes I know, having a web degree background like I do, sometimes you'll get credit for a landing or something, and that landing is actually you, so you're not really doing anything. No one's actually there, so maybe I'm just talking to myself on that. Maybe there's no one actually on Twitch. I don't like this. This didn't turn out the way I want. So I'm going to rework it a little bit. Yeah, that'll work for now, I guess. Now, I've not been able to read the story because I'm usually broke, and so I don't get to buy as many comics. I have to be a lot more selective on what I buy and when I buy. But I've not actually been able to read this book. Visually, it's just so awesome. So I'm not 100% sure why he hides his mouth, his mask, his face. It could be that drawing the mouth of a skeleton is sometimes difficult. It could be he has really bad halitosis, you know. Maybe he just has really bad breath, and so this way, you know, nobody has to smell the smell of the dead. So, Don't ask me exactly what I'm doing because I don't really know. I'm just kind of seeing how it feels. You guys are welcome to criticize because, like I said, it's just warm up. Guess I should probably go ahead and get his eye in there since I set it up to be able to do it. So what I think I'll do in order to get his eye in there, and let's see, make sure I've got it set right here. Actually, I think I'll just do a selection. Don't want to do too broad. Make sure I leave it about the same ink line as I do everywhere else. But I don't want to get over top of that ink line. Well, I might if I wanted, for his eyes to really bugger out of the page, but I don't know. We'll see how this goes. Ah, crud. Might help if you plus it there, Dave, so that it'll work. No reason to do a selection twice if you don't have to, unless you forget to hit the plus button, then you got to do it twice anyway. All right. So with that, I'm going to move over to my brush tool, which will allow me to do more of a fade effect, which I really need to sit down, go over the book that I have, and figure out how to move over to the brush as a whole. I see more artists utilizing that, so I think it'll look more artistically pleasing. I just haven't done it yet. So I'm swapping over to white here. And just got to make the eyepiece big enough. That'll work. And so then when I deselect, there we go. Dun 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 dun. Looking a little bit on the scary side there, dude. Switch back over to my pen tool. Continue to have fun. So I'm eager to see if I can get someone to comment so I can test out this new chat feature. See if it actually allows me to do what it says. Y'all didn't see that. You didn't see me just use white after I had switched it over. I hate doing that. Saw a funny meme this week. They had a meme for artists, and it says, you know, every time you use the wrong layer, you know, so many sit-ups and stuff like that. And I could definitely relate. Use the wrong layer, and you're like, oh, crud. Especially if you lay a really nice line, you know, one that you're truly happy with. And it's like, oh man, now I gotta redo it. And then it never turns out the second time. I grew up with comics in the 90s, so I tend to be a cross-hatching fool. He's really not a difficult character as far as drawing him goes. I mean, you know, I guess if I was having to draw him on a regular basis, that might be, you know, and anytime you draw for someone else, you are subject to their whims. So since I'm doing this for me, I can do it however I want, you know. Now, if I really wanted to go crazy with this, he has guns and stuff with skulls on them and everything like that, and so I could easily throw those in there and stuff like that. But I think I'm, you know, happy with my warm up, and I'll go do my other stuff now. Keep waiting to put flames behind his head, you know, like Ghost Rider and stuff like that, but that's all right. Sorry. Probably should zoom in just a little bit so you guys can see a little more. But that's him. I'll turn off my sketch background so you can kind of see him without the sketch. Looking pretty cool, I think. I mean, I certainly could have done more, but not a bad warm-up, I think. But again, check it out. Will Callaghan, check out his Gun Ghoul character, and yeah, I'll even put that on there. How's that? we go. Have him just be really, do it. Do it. All right. So now I'm going to kick over to my other piece. Go ahead and save this here. Well, yeah, I should save it because you never know. You never know. Okay, all saved. And so now you guys can see I've got Sketch PSD on there. So I'm gonna, yeah, for those that might be wondering what program I use, I do use Photoshop. I was trained in it. A lot of my education, was around it. Um, I know there's a lot of other programs out there, but I had to pay for this one anyway for college. A lot of my digital coloring comes from this one, so, it just makes more sense to do that. All right, give me a second here. I'm going to switch over to, now on this one I've got, I've already got the female form sketched because the lead character in the book I'm working on, my own personal title, is a female character. So I'm still a lot of the planning stage. I know approximately where I'm going with it, but it's what your best laid plans are. Sometimes you have to refine them, work them a little bit. So anyway, so this character obviously is female. Not quite sure how old I'm going to make her just yet. She's young enough to be a daughter, but old enough to beat some butt, obviously. And she wears a full armor suit, so I've been kind of playing around with how I'm going to do that. And I'm not this figure was a quicker sketch, so I'm not 100% happy with the anatomy and stuff like that, but it's not about the anatomy in this case. It's more about, what do I want to do to, have some fun with this character, and that looks awful. It's just not even good at all. Anyway, I think the problem is her butt and her hips kind of joined together there. Anyway, I don't know. But just did a quickie so that I could kind of mess around. And this is one of the beautiful parts about doing stuff like this, because I can do a sketch over this body frame and then add another layer and add another layer and just keep redoing, rehashing, reworking things. And I don't have to worry about, messing it up or, redrawing the exact same pose. And so I can reutilize the same pose more than once to kind of get in there what I want to do and mess around with. I don't know. I know I keep retouching up on this stupid thing, but it drives me crazy. Drive me crazy. That's all I can say. Driving me crazy. Oh, hi Ben. Yeah, it does not look like that other chat thingy that I was utilizing works because, oh hey, it did work. It just took a little longer. Um, it's Ben says hi, so hiya. That's kind of nice. I actually kind of like that. That's weird. It's not. Oh, that's weird. Wonder if it's. Anyway. Okay, so back to drawing. And let's make sure I'm on the same layer so I don't continue to make a fool of myself. There we go. One of the things that'll drive me the craziest about her outfit is probably going to be her mask. Because I've got to make it look strong enough that she will seem powerful, yet meek enough that you get the idea for her innocence, her meekness, you know. So one of the things that's really been popular as of late is um, like what you see on the movies where they almost have an underlying layer separation. But in reality, with how this is supposed to work, should actually probably be over like that. See, I'm already fixing what's supposed to be more of a sketch. Awful, 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 awful. But anyway, I think that's why I take longer to draw sometimes. Because if I'm not happy with it, I'll redo it and redo it and rehash it and rehash it. I'm sure none of you understand what that's like, right? Like now, just not thrilled with that. So anyway, this girl, in the end, she's not really a girl. She is more cybernetic than anything, I guess. But I want to be able to, again, convey that to my readers. Because she's, you know, I got to show that she's feminine, yet at the same time she's powerful. And anyway, speaking of powerful women, me and one of my daughters and my wife went and saw Captain Marvel yesterday. I finally went to see it. And I say finally because I've kind of been putting it off. There just been a lot of bad press about it, and I just wasn't as into the character, wasn't as thrilled to see the character, so, you know, wasn't going to go out of my way. So, my daughter wanted to see a movie, and she offered to flip the bill, because let's face it, going to a movie anymore can be extremely expensive. So I think I'm just going to mess around with this whole underbody side thing there. Under Armour. Under Armour. That's copywritten, isn't it? But yeah, the movie really was pretty good. It wasn't what I was expecting. It definitely had some parts where I'm like, come on, really? Because they were just not realistic to, I think her head's way too high, but anyway. I didn't feel like they were being realistic to, you know, I mean, I know there's sexist guys out there and there's jerk guys out there, but I don't know. Anyway, but overall, I thought the movie did a great job of really just being empowering, period. I mean, there was no flat out, oh, well, you know, um, this is empowerment for just women. You know, it seemed like it was, for the most part, an across the board kind of thing. So, um, now on this, I'm trying to stay away from doing the stereotypical ginormous boobs and breast, you know, sorry, I'll try to use the word breast to be more politically correct. But a lot of times you'll just see people do this kind of thing with them. And, you know, oh, hey, there's your armor. And it just becomes, I don't know, almost, I don't know. To me, it's not as aesthetically pleasing. I get why they do it. It's just, I don't know. So I'm going to try not to go that direction with it. But, you know, I may find out in the end that I'm wrong and it is better to run that direction with it. So, I think one of the keys to making this more robotic looking girl feel less hard, as it were, is going to be putting in a lot more curves. The more harsh angles you have, the more hard, the more masculine a character becomes. So it's kind of like when you draw a female face, you're not supposed to put that many lines in her face, because the more lines, the more aged or masculine she'll look. So, and I've definitely found that to be the case over time whenever I draw a young lady, is the more, just one more line in the face, and, you know. So I might not even go with how I've got this separated here, just because, once again, one more line. So sometimes just an implied break. I don't know. We'll see. As far as the movie goes that we watched, I don't know that it's vital. At least if you take it on the surface, I don't think the movie was vital to the next Avengers movie. However, obviously throwing her in there, it could definitely be vital to the story as it's going to be um, when they release it. They may make her integral to the plot development or whatever. But until the movie comes out in 2 weeks, the story that was told in and of itself really didn't lend itself to say, hey, this is how it's going to be, or that it's you know she's necessary to saving the universe kind of thing. So it was fun though. I enjoyed watching how they CGI'd um, the different characters that we've grown to love over the years from the thing, with Coulson and um, Nick Fury and them. Um, it was neat to see Coulson with hair, Nick Fury with an eye. You know, really they got to have some fun with that. So sorry if you guys are hearing those dings. Every time something happens online, I'm getting a ding. Should probably get that turned off, but yeah. Oh, actually, I think I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab my drink. I think I'm gonna have her feel less like a metallic suit and more of just like a tech suit that she might be wearing or whatever, even though she's not truly human. But I don't know. We will get there at some point. Now, if you've not been any of my drawing things, really bad about ADD and stuff. I do have ADD or some variation, and so I will jump around and go to other places and work on something, then jump somewhere else and work on something, and anyway. So you'll have to forgive me. And if you don't forgive me, that's okay too. Don't care. Yeah, I don't like that. Gonna see me delete here. Kind of weird to put the knuckles so far back on the longest finger. Find it interesting that the human body, we have our body parts, our fingers and stuff, they're so perfectly set up that, if our knuckles were exactly where they are across the board, that our fingers would constantly rub together. So our knuckles were actually made to go back and forth and vary. So yeah, don't like that either. Just leave it there. The nice thing about doing a robot like this is I love drawing knuckles and fingers, and which is funny because I used to hate it. But I love to really accentuate them now, make them a little bigger than realism would allow. And so by doing a robot, she will most definitely have that feature accentuated. Definitely with the way I'm working these, she's definitely getting more of that robotic computer vibe, but that's okay. I mean, technically she is, and she's got to have that flexibility. So I'm not going into great detail. I mean, I've never been one of those people that's like, oh, you got to copyright everything, and because I mean, there's so much media now that, when you start putting it online, yeah, someone could steal your ideas and stuff, but it's recorded, it's logged. So, most of what copyright is saying, I had the idea first. So if my logs show that I worked on this way before someone else, I don't know. I mean, one of the biggest things I learned in my graphic design, because I'm a graphic artist by trade, is there's no new ideas. Nobody's got something new. Um, People just change what's already out there and tell the story a different way. Um, so, you know, I see, I'm not real sure how I'm going to work this because there are so many muscles in the human arm that to deliver every single one of them is going to be hard. The other problem is, though, I don't want to do the Colossus thing where, oh, it's just bands of robotic muscle. You see in comic books, they'll just do this and go, oh, well, he's robotic. And I'm just like, well, yeah, but that just doesn't feel right. So this may be some area where I mess around a lot more, figure out. All right, so anyway, make sure I'm back on the right layer. Yep. So I'm still gonna have to figure out how I want to do that. And it may just be sectioned off. I don't know. And sometimes just having it implied helps. But again, the more lines I put in there, the struggle then becomes, well, am I making her look older? Because obviously the older you are, the more lines you get. I mean, if you've ever seen newer pictures of Madonna, she's still a very attractive woman for her age, but she works out so much and everything that now she kind of, you see it more. She's got a lot more defined tone, and I don't know. that tricep ought to be up a little higher. Now the only problem is with the sketch I did underneath, it actually looks like she's got the stripes, even though I'm like, I don't want to do that. And maybe when I do this, I should also be looking at some of the faux tech suits that you see on movies, because even though they're fake, some of them, you know, they're made out of foam, but some of them they actually make the effort to make them adjust and move for the person. So even if the thing was originally made out of foam, sometimes you can still get a good, like, oh, well, you know, if it's in that part of the body, in order to make it, you know, actually work, if they wanted to move, they need to do X, Y, and Z. You know, it needs to be here, here, and here. Anyway, not as thrilled in this area here, but, you know, again, we're just kind of getting a feel for how this should really go. Let's see, what I'd kind of rather do is something more like this, where it's insinuated. Does that make sense? But again, it may not work, and it may be just as bad as doing it the other way. So, you know. That's getting to be a bit too much now. And so when I'm done, which I'll turn off my background so you can kind of see what I'm talking about, she gets more of a look like that. I don't know. I think no matter what, I'm going to feel probably uncomfortable with how it's displayed. Oh, sorry. Like I said, I may still end up going with the striped arms. You know, don't claim to have all the answers. I'm just trying to find a different way. I don't want to say new, but a different way to convey the same message. So really, her wishbone should be the clavicle, or whatever you want to call it, should probably be right about here. And I still don't care for how that looks. But you know, I mean, that's what this is all about. This is finding that look that I like, and so I can easily start here and move on. All right, well, let's mess around with the head here. And for her face, I wanted to definitely, it's going to have a mask, but then also have the option for a real face. So I may actually do 2 layers here, one with the mask, one without. But I'm mostly concerned with the mask side of it, because I want to be able to give her that look. Excuse me. One of my favorite shows growing up was the Silverhawks. I mean, I loved Thundercats and G.I. Joe and some of those. And I know that Silverhawks spawned from Thundercats. But I just loved the outfits and you know, that cybernetic look, the cybernetic masks that they had. And so that's kind of what I wanted to go with. But it's a matter of making her, again, feel feminine, um, while still having that harsh, you know, very cool feel that they have. So and I also want to be careful because she could dangerously get close to looking like Boba Fett. So, because see already with how this is, she loses some of that femininity. Yeah, easy for you to say, right? But she loses some of that with the mask alone, just because there's so many hard angles with it, um, and I know a lot of times they get around it by using uh, certain colors, um, like Power Rangers did by you having the pink Ranger. Um, but if you don't, I mean, I'm not saying this isn't going to be a color comic, but if you're not going to have that as an option, or if you don't want to always have to have the pink in there to make her female, becomes a question of, well, how do I do this so that she will be a she, and you know. I'm not completely against the look of this. It's definitely looking kind of cool. Hmm, don't like that. Not sure how I want to do the upper mask either, you know, because you've got to be able to get the expression in there. In fact, I found that I'm a huge Aquaman fan. Um, I've loved Aquaman longer than Aquaman has been in the newer movies. Um, I loved him when he was geeky, but one of the things I found amusing with the movie was they for Orm, his brother, when he had his mask on, his mask would reflect his mood. And so, you know, if he like did a grimace and face, you know, they they made the mask manipulate to have that and almost in a liquid like form. And I'm like, really? Come on, guys. You know, and if you ever look, if you really study like all of the Batmans and stuff, many times uh, the Batman suits were already had the grimace. You know, they already had the angry face. Um, you know, but like for Batman, that works great because he's always brooding, he's always angry, he's always mad. You know, so it's not really a big deal to do that to him. But you know, it makes it harder to do an expression. And see, I absolutely hate how that turned out. Ugh, oh, that's awful. But you know, so for him it works fine because he always is mad about something. He's always grimacing, always has the hate. But it doesn't work when you have a character who's got to emote other emotions and other feelings, and you know, so. All right, so that is this version of her, I guess. Um, the other thing I got to be careful of too is as much as I want to have some fun with her, I don't want to make her so complex that she becomes a burden to draw. Um, you know, one of you know I've watched some old videos with Todd McFarlane who draws Spawn, and he did Spider-Man and stuff like that, and you know he talks about how you know he came up with the idea for the webbing, the newer style webbing where it's interlocked, and intertwined and almost in knots. And you know, he apologizes to all future artists because he said it just became cumbersome to do webbing instead of doing the cheap way where they would just spray web, you know. Um, so I don't want her suit to become so complex that she's annoying to draw. See, once again, doing that in between stuff, I run into the issue of making her legs a little too muscular looking, more masculine. So, obviously something I'm gonna have to mess around with. This will be another area where I'm going to have to figure it all out because there are, once again, so many muscles and parts to the human body here that um, unless I just put a plate over it like that, you know, that's going to make it a little harder to find that magic. So, but that's what I'm trying to work out, is all that fun stuff. I think some of it too, maybe if I slim her down a little bit, almost to the unhealthy slim that most comic girls are, it'll help. I actually am kind of stoked about next week, or the week after, when, well, I think everyone is, but when Avengers finally comes out, everyone's kind of wanting some closure. I was talking to my daughter about it last night, and I raised her to be a little bit geeky like me. And we were talking about how, you know, they've got to figure out a great way to move, excuse me, to move their characters forward after this, because this is such a huge play and event, and you know that there are certain characters that are choosing to move on. So, you know, how do you transition and still maintain the momentum that Marvel's had? Um, so, you know, it's really going to kind of play to uh, the talents of people. You know, how good are they going to do at making this move? So. And we're once again at that issue with the lines. She looks a little off here, but it's okay. It's just a work through here. So not really anything new on this point. It's redoing what I did on the other side. But it gives you a chance to see it from, you know, another view. It's like, okay, well, is that really going to work? And, you know, if they're in a different position or you see it from a different angle. And so still all benefits. You know, and she can fly, so I'm like, well, do I utilize the wings that I've got on her? Does she have thrusters on her feet? These are all things that I'm gonna have to go in and truly decide. And I'll probably definitely be playing around with the face mask over and over. But you know, again, it's just all trial and error. If we turn off my other layer, kind of get a better feel for what she looks like now. Oops. And the cool thing is when I'm ready to do more, I mean, I can keep this one saved, but I can add another layer and bring that one back and then make that one disappear. And I'm back to having it a fresh start. Um, and once again, I'll show you guys what I started off with from my warm-up. My fun shot of Gun Check out Gun or Else by Will Callaghan. And that's it for drawing for today, I think. Hope you guys enjoy watching this. I'm sure some of you will go back and see it. And talk to you later.